Dua. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Today we have a webinar series by IPSis. I would like to introduce our moderator, Dr. Muhammad Hussein Hanibah, and then our speaker for today, Professor IR Dr. Jamaluddin Mahmud. So I will give to our moderator to moderate the sessions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aman, for the kind introduction. Okay, so Prof. J, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you, Dr. Hussein?
Yeah, I'm fine. Today, ready for today's sessions?
Yeah, inshallah.
I'm sure you are really ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we really start our today's session, why not we start our sessions with the Surah Al-Fatiha? Okay, thank you for the surah. Okay, let's, Prof. I think I will start to introduce you. I will start to introduce your profile because it is really perfect for me to read through a really honored to read this profile to and share with the rest of them. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me share the profiles. Professor Insigne Dr. Jamaluddin Mahmud is a professor at the Faculty of the Mechanical Engineering, UITM. He has a PhD in biomechanicals engineering from Cardiff University, UK, Master in Science, Manufacturing Engineering from International Islamic University, Malaysia, IIUM, and Bachelor in Engineering, Honors, Mechanical Engineering from University Teknologi Mara, our very senior alumni. Thank you. He has served UITM management team at a various levels, such as the deputy dean, and we have the head of the academic program and the head of industrial linkage at the Chancellery's Office of Industrial Community and Alumni Network ICAR. His past experience in industrial and current involvement with the industrial has enabled him to register as a professional engineer IR with the Board of Engineers Malaysia BEM. Due to his expertise and experience, he has been appointed as a judge in designs competitions, external examiner, keynote speaker, panel of evaluator, a visiting and researcher and a member in a various technical committee in the national and international level. Other than that, since he managed to complete his PhD in less than 3 years, wonderful, and graduated 15 research students as the main supervisor and evaluated 18 PhD theses as the external examiner and published more than, again, I would like to highlight more than 150 technical papers. He has regularly been invited to share his experience at the seminar. At the Anugerah Academic University Teknologi Mara this year, Prof. J has been awarded with the Anugerah Penyelia Terbaik 2019. That I'm sure that is a eye-opening introduction for the Prof. Okay, so without further ado, I'm sure Prof are so excited at the moment to share with us with a very wonderful topic of today's sessions, which is how to make a remote Viva work for you. So, Prof J, the floor is yours and enjoy the moment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hussein. Let me share my full screen. Okay, so Dr. Hussein, could you see my introductory screen?
Not yet, Prof.
How to make a remote Viva work for you?
Not yet, Prof. I think you need to share screen.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, how about now?
Where the Prof is appearing, Okay, Prof. I can see how to make a remote Viva work for you.
All right. Assalamualaikum and good morning to all of you. So as introduced, thank you, Dr. Hussein, for introducing me. I'm Jamaluddin Mahmud. Basically, people call me Prof J at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. So basically, for today, it's more like not teaching session. Basically, it's more like sharing session. I'm not going to teach you, it's just a sharing of my experience related to remote Viva, the main issues, and how you're going to prepare to solve these problems. All right. So the presentation outline for this 1 hour or about 1 hour and 10 minutes, I'm going to introduce first about PhD and novelty, the good thesis, the examiner's report, preparation for examination, the good Viva presentation, and then we're going to talk about remote Viva and the issues. Now, before I start, I always like to share these slides. Well, we come from a different background. You have your own supervisors, your own style, you have your own way. So I would like to say that we berlapang dada lah. If we look at the first, okay, if you look at the first slides, this one, the top left, see a man from the island when he very happy to see a boat. And then a man on the boat, he's very happy to see the island. So it's always the people say that the grass is always greener on the other side. And then sometimes we see things correctly, but from the different angle, we see things differently. Okay? So both of us are correct. So berlapang dada lah and agree to disagree. Okay. Okay. First of all, I would like to share this. This is, I think, a very important slides. Whether you are doing your master's now by research or PhD, I'm focusing more on PhD, okay? And then from that, we can look at the standard of a master's. So basically, what is the philosophy of PhD? Because my supervisor asked to me, she said that until I understand what is PhD, then only I can graduate. So to me, that is very something. So what important thing, what is PhD, right? So basically, it's focusing on writing a dissertation, or in our case, we call it thesis. The keywords include significant contribution or substantial contribution, discovery of new knowledge, development of new theory, and also there's a point saying that significant publications. And of course, at UiTM, we should know that at least for PhD, we have to publish at least 2 Scopus Index journals, papers, before you can you can graduate. And then for masters, at least we have to have 1.
Yang pelajar semester yang pertama, kedua dan juga pelajar yang
okay. And then when we talk about that, the requirements for PhD, we have the novel findings, broad and depth, and the word there critically, and the word critically. So what's the meaning of novel? Novel simply means it's a new kind, it's a different thing from new others, or it's something inventive, original. It's not that it's not that holy or something like that, but basically it's just referring to something new. But when we talk about PhD, we always, or masters by research, we always use the word novelty. So where do I get this? This is something I got from the Cambridge University. This is something from the Cambridge University website. I got it even before in my 3rd year, before I graduated. I want to see what is the philosophy, what are the requirements. So why I'm using Cambridge? Why I'm using Cambridge? Because it can be a good reference for us. Even though in some way they have a different criteria, but for us, I think we can take this because we have provided, Cambridge University have provided a very good definition or the philosophy of what PhD. Okay, hopefully I think later on ULTM also can come up with something something on its own here, the philosophy of PhD or Masters by Research. Now the novelty, when we talk about novelty, this is not from my own thinking, it's from professor from Sheffield. So in the UK that we have this several level of PhD. So basically I can say in three. So we have the a new theory, new equation, new model. For example, for science, if you say that's Newton's law or Kirchhoff's law, that would be the highest level of novelty or new mathematical model. Okay, and then for the second level, basically when you come out with it's not a new theory but more like a new tools, new method, new algorithm, new product or new approach, that it could be considered as a second level of novelty. And the third one is about saying that furnishing new data. So you need furnish new data to accept or reject existing theory. However, for a PhD level, if you just furnish new data, it's quite difficult unless you can back up your data with a very good publication, for example, in Q1 or Q2, right? So this is thing. Now, maybe now, all of you can start think, what would be the novelty of your PhD or your masters. Now, the good thesis, even before we go to the Viva, is very important because why? We only can go to the Viva once we submit our thesis. And if we have prepared a very good thesis and we have a very good publication, then our Viva basically is going to be something not difficult. It's going to be a smooth journey during your Viva. You're going to enjoy your Viva if you have prepared a good thesis. All right. So again, as I would like to remind all students to be meticulous. You have to be meticulous. Why? Because we must target for 0% error. Okay, or maybe we can minimize. We can minimize because it's quite difficult to get under 0% error, but we can minimize. Or else you have to do rework. You have to rework. Okay, this is the good when we talk about quality. Quality first, do it right for the first time. If you've done everything right at the first time, then you do not have to do a lot of rework. And I like to quote this word where we said that if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have the time to do it over? Okay, so this is very good. So make sure if you want to graduate on time, if you want to graduate in 3 years, make sure that whatever that you do, you try to do it as good as possible. Try to be meticulous. Now, this is some of the benchmark. Okay, where do I benchmark this? This is basically internationally. Internationally, the scope of work. I'm not talking here. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the paper you publish before Viva. No, it's actually the scope of work and the evidence of novelty for a PhD. Generally, okay, the amount of work could be published in 3. You can publish 3 journal papers or at least 3 journal papers from your scope of work. And of course, when we talk about journal papers, we are referring to basically at least ISI. But if you can publish 3 Q1 papers from your thesis, that would be wonderful. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you have to publish everything before your Viva. It can be even after your Viva. But when the examiners look at the thesis, they can see like, oh, this thesis has the potential to publish 3 very good journals. And for masters, it can be one good journal paper. At least we target for ISI, or it can be for Q1. Yes. Is there any example? Yes. Based on my experience, I have evaluated more than 30 all the theses. I think there are master's theses who are published in Q2. And I'm going to share a few TDP which have published 4 Q1, Q2 papers before Viva. Right? Okay, for the standard of benchmark, if you look here, we have basically the Bachelor in Engineering. In the UK, we have the Masters of Engineering. which is about 4 years. And then there are masters by coursework, MSc, and in the UK there are masters by research. And then we have the PhD level, and the MPhil usually is given to PhD students who do not get up to the standard of the PhD. Then the candidate will be awarded with the MPhil. Okay, so this is the standard. Okay, so PhD I think is very clear, and I think for the bachelor is quite clear. So usually the standard or the benchmark of the masters is quite huge. Yeah, the gap, the standard there. So I think UITM standard is that you have to publish at least one Scopus Index journal. Okay, and we look at the evaluation for the award of a degree, PhD and masters at UITM. We are evaluated by two things actually. Two things that will give you your masters or PhD. The first one is your thesis, and the second one is the Viva. So who going to set the standard? Okay, before Viva is actually your supervisors, based on the UITM requirement. And then you're going to have your Viva. And I would say that usually during the Viva is you who really understand the work. Okay, and you can see that basically, if you look here, yeah, you are the real expert because you have been doing that. And in Malaysia, it's quite difficult to find the examiner who is actually in similar area with your thesis. For example, I evaluated one thesis from UTM. He has a work scope related to experimental and then the numerical, but it's more on biofluid. So I told the committee for that Viva, I said, I'm not the expert in biofluid. However, they said, why not you look? We want you to look only at the computational parts because basically my work is on the computational mechanics. So that is the real scenario what's happening now in Malaysia. It's very difficult, right? It's very difficult to find the examiners who is really 100% related to the work and scope of work in your thesis. Alright, so main issues related to thesis, usually writing is always the main challenge. Timing, constraint, structure of sentences. And what you need to highlight really is that you really highlight when the examiners look at thesis, they can see that your work is novel. So even from your title, if you produce a very good title, then the examiners already see that, wow, this work is novel, even from the title. And the other parts that I think that I want to highlight is the thesis alignment, because what is the meaning of thesis alignment? The thesis alignment is that means that the title, the objective, the methodology, the result discussion is all aligned. Okay, in a few cases you have objective like 4 objective, but one of the objective is not even mentioned in the methodology, right? So that is not aligned. Or the title is describing something else, but then the objective is telling something else, stating something else. So that is what you need to be alert of. We have to be careful about thesis alignment. And other than that, I think the thesis formatting, figures, some of the figures is very difficult to see. So small numbers, even though you're taking the original figures from elsewhere, you need to edit. If the font size is too small, you have to edit that figure to embed a new font size. You have to edit that figure. Okay, sometimes you say the thesis is good, but the others prove it otherwise, especially from the examiners. And okay, you may rank your thesis, okay, and for the supervisors, what you can do is that you compare your thesis. Okay, I always advise the student before they write a thesis, they need to look at least 20 theses. That's what I did. That's what I did when I started writing my thesis. Okay, at Cardiff University, there's no format. So I went to the library and then I went to the rack of thesis. It's about 150 theses. Basically, I flip. I can say that during my study time, I flip all the theses, those 150 theses on the rack. I want to see the format, how they come out, the format, what they include in, how many papers that they attach to it, how many papers they publish before the thesis are being submitted, the final hardbound. So that are the things. So you need to have, I think you need to look at many theses, not only from your research group, but also good that you look at theses from others, so that you can open up your mind in the preparation of your thesis. You open up your mind, okay? See that maybe some other groups, they have a better way of writing the thesis. Now for the final check, before you go to the thesis, just check for the thesis alignment, randomly you look at, and then you look at the title for the subsection, is it correct or not? Okay, and then scan the references, total number and recent. Okay, scan your table of content. So the page number randomly you correct with the and you check it with the table of content, is it correct? Okay, scan for the spelling English, whether it's a UK spelling or US spelling. So I think in at UITM we should write UK spelling, and it should be throughout. Don't mix between UK and US. Okay, scan citation number and then versus the reference. Even though sometimes you use apps, okay, something like EndNote. Okay, still check, and then you just randomly check for structure of sentences. Be meticulous. I would recommend that if you have fun, at least you send your thesis for English editing or proofreading. Send, especially for chapter 4 discussion and for chapter 2. For chapter 2 literature review. So why not you send for the English editing from a good editor. Now, let's look at the thesis examiner's report. The examiner's report. Okay, this is what you're going to be evaluated. So I think this is the latest one. Okay, this is the latest one. It's 2017. Laporan pemeriksa thesis. And these are the forms. These are the forms that the examiners. So once they receive your thesis, okay, what they will do, they will read your thesis and they will start preparing this report. And at present, the thesis, they have marks there between 1 to 5. So which is mean clear 1. Okay, and finally, section D, the examiners has to propose whether the work carried out in the thesis exceeds the requirement for the award of the doctorals or master's degree. The work carried out meet the standard, okay, or does not meet the required standard. Now, in the form also, there's some explanation for the examiners to refer the required standards. So actually is based on UITM requirement. But nevertheless, since the examiners, they also have they have examined a lot of thesis. Okay, they have a lot of students, so sometimes they tend to compare with their standard. So that's why just now I share with you the common standard, which is I benchmark at the international level. Basically, the scope of work in your thesis could produce 3 good journal papers. 3 good journal papers. Okay. Right. So this is it. Okay. Now this is too small. I think so. Too small. So what next? I'm going to zoom it. Okay. Okay. So we have the 2 parts, which are the guided assessment and the detailed assignment. So this is what the examiners have to fill out. They are given rank 1 to 5. 5 is clear, 1 is poor. Okay, and then the second part is about the detailed assessment. So these are the the guided assessment for part A. Okay, these are the questions. These are the questions, or these are the things that the examiners need to probe. For example, the title of thesis. Does it reflect the content of the thesis? That is something related to alignment. That is something related to alignment. Okay, and then the problem statement. And then the examiners will look at the scope of research, sufficient for the degree intended. So I would say that for a PhD, okay, it can produce, it has the potential to produce very 3 good journal papers. And for masters, at least it can publish a very good 1 journal paper. In some cases, they can even publish more. And then you state the limitation of study. Then they look at the literature review. So when we talk about literature review, okay, is it there's the word critical there, comprehensive and critical appraisal. So literature review must have the critical element, critical review, and then they look at the design methodology, they look at your results and discussion, and then they will look at your conclusion and recommendation, and then finally they will look at the references. And the examiners also has to find out whether the students guideline follow the guidelines stipulated by Universiti Teknologi Mara lah, UITM. So these are the content for the guided assessment. And then part B, the quality of thesis. So remember, we have the Likert scale 1 to 5. So the examiner has to comment on the knowledge in the field of study, your arguments, and then you shows your connection and patterns that require intellectual creativity. So in your thesis also should highlight the data analysis and interpretation. So whether your data is rich or not, sufficient or not, convincing or not. Convincing means that you show that your data is reliable. So in some cases you have to do statistical analysis. You have to look, check for the variance, or if you're doing a simulation, you need to come out with a numerical validation. So you will, the thesis also will be assessed related to the writing style and the grammar and the structure of sentences. If it's a good thesis, then when we read the thesis, we know that the sentences is reflecting a PhD thesis. That is very important. That's very important. So yeah, since we are not professional, we need help. So it's good that we go for English editing, or look for someone who is very good in the writing style. So you can learn this also by looking at the Q1 or Q2 papers, high impact journal papers, where they could provide, or they could show the good way of writing a technical paper, and then also the continuity and organization flow of the thesis. Next, they also look at the scholarly content. Okay. They look at the contribution to academic research, the theoretical part, the methodological part, practical basically referring the application. What is the application? Maybe in the long term, or the short term, or the long term. And then what is the significance to body of knowledge? Is there anything major? Do you come up with a new theory, or you come up with a new algorithm which could solve? You come up with a new vaccine, for example, for COVID-19. And then what is the potential for publication? Now this question, the last one, potential for publication or commercialization, if you have already published like 1 or 2 Q1 papers, then basically it's already answered. Now for the commercialization part, try to try to submit patent filing, do patent filing, or at least copyright. You apply for the copyright IPR, do any anything that's related to the intellectual property. You can do that. So these are the questions. This is what your thesis is being assessed. All right. Okay. And then, of course, the second part, as I shared with you, is the detailed assessment is whatever that the examiners write. The examiners can comment anything lah. So they have this second part, which is the detailed assessment. So now let's go for the preparation for examination. In this case, I'm referring to the oral examination or the Viva. So what is the meaning of Viva? Basically, I'm a fundamentalist. So when I talk about something Viva or novelty, I always give you the definition. The definition, we start with the basic definition. It can come from the Cambridge University dictionary. Okay, this one I took it from dictionary. Is Viva can be something like express approval or support. Viva Las Vegas. Okay, and also in our case, basically a spoken exam for a university qualification. So that's the meaning of Viva. Now, the ambience, the ambience, the ambience, all right, the situation is actually, when we talk about Viva, the perception is that it's going to be a horrible ordeal, okay, where you have to defend your thesis in person before they rip you to shreds. This is, I took it from a group discussion, from a discussion forum. So what's the meaning of ordeal? We can say that this basically is a grilling session. It's a torture. So you can expect that. Because why? You need to defend your thesis, and basically for PhD, this will be the last stage that you have to focus. Before you being called doctor, so you have to undergo this is something. Okay, so the ordeal is something like very unpleasant. You know, it can be something like an ancient test of guilt, something like that. It's talking about pain. But actually, during my Viva, I enjoyed my Viva actually. I enjoyed my Viva. Why? Because in reality, nobody really wants to listen to your work. You have spent your time 2 years doing your masters, 3 to 4 years doing your PhD, and that is the time where people will really ask about your work. So you should be excited, and remember, as I said just now, during that Viva session, actually you are the real expert. Why? Because all the work you have done it by yourself. So if you have done everything, you have understood everything what you did, then it's going to be an enjoyable Viva. So the purpose of the Viva, okay, all right, the examiners, we want to see whether it's the candidates on work. There is a real question situation where an examiner asks the student, the candidate, where did you put the sample? And this particular candidate, he could not answer that question. Now, if you really have done the work by yourself, you should know. And I think like, no, I have put it here. You can defend, say, no, I have put it here. I spent it 4 days trying to put here and there. So this is the best place. But if some basic questions you could not answer, there is something wrong. So then, and then we want to see, the examiners wants to see whether the candidate really understand what you have done, and then whether it is worth a PhD or masters. So is there any contribution to knowledge? So is really the Viva for formality? Well, I thought so, but then there are cases where a candidate failed the Viva. Now, in one cases, how it happened? The examiners the verdict said that he only be granted with MPhil, and unfortunately he has no publications to back up. Okay, he has no, and at that time he had no publication to back up. So okay, well, I would say that it can be 90% it is formality, but yeah, I think you have to be serious with your Viva. I think you have to be serious with your Viva, because there are potential that you may fail your Viva, or you don't want to repeat your Viva. You don't want to repeat your Viva. Alright, this what I haven't shown you before. Alright, the same thing, 3 journal papers and 1 journal paper for PhD, Masters. Okay, there are also top 40 Viva questions. This is given to me before my Viva. So there are actually. Okay, but the real pain is, but the real pain are the questions about the fundamental and theoretical aspect. So that is something. Because basically this question general, for example, the question, for example, who's going to be interested with your work? Okay, if you have the, if you're given the chance to improve your thesis, what you're going to do? That is something quite general, but there are questions about your fundamental. For example, the most recent Viva, the student presented a numerical equation consisting of exponent. So the examiner asked, what is the value of E? Exponent, epsilon, E, what's the value of E? And then there's also a question, the student put a symbol there, a symbol using in maths. So the examiner asked, I just want to check what does the symbol, the name of the symbol, for example, like gamma, beta. So up to that, up to that. There are also cases where the examiner will recalculate your calculation. For example, that you have done your calculation, and then the examiner will recalculate and then say, in your calculation you got this value, but when I did it, the same calculation, I got a different value. Can you explain that? So it's a very much dependence on the examiner. So I think you have to just to be prepared, prepared the best you can, right? Okay, and this is some kebat, HOTS, higher order thinking skills, or kebat, or the nasty ones. In one sentence, describe your work and thesis. Okay, luckily I did not get this. Luckily I did not get this question, but this is common at the Cardiff University, at the School of Computer Science. In one sentence, describe your work. What have you done that merits a PhD? So you have to defend that. Again, see, if you understand what is PhD, what are the requirements of the PhD, you know what is novelty, what is significant contribution to the body of knowledge, then you can defend that. And that's also one question an examiner asks, okay, based on your review, could you explain why they, the researcher cited in the thesis, and your thesis, conduct the study in that way? This is the case where in your literature review, you are saying about, you are telling about the work of one researcher, and then the examiner asks why that the group of researchers did it that way. So that is something that you'll be shocked. Okay, and luckily I also did not get this kind of question. It's just saying that when you cite something, you need to understand not only how they did it, but sometimes you also need to explain why they did it. All right. So, and usually for at the end of the Viva session, if I'm the chair, okay, or I'm the examiner, I will always tell the student that, well, your thesis will be a permanent document in your lifetime and actually beyond, even when we are not here anymore. Okay, your thesis, our thesis will still be there. Therefore, the comments is actually sincere to make the betterment of your thesis, so that you do not have to hide your thesis. Because you have produced not a good thesis, like say a Prof J, my thesis is not good. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to hide my thesis. And when people ask, can we have a look at your thesis? Oh, I'm sorry, I could not find my thesis, you know. But if your thesis, you have done it with pride, then you will be proud to share your thesis with others. So take whatever comments from your examiners, from your supervisors, or from your friends. Take it positively, because this is to make your thesis the best thesis, that you can produce. Now, before Viva, what you need to do, okay, this is very important that please check and read your thesis. Many times you should be well versed with the thesis. You should be well versed with your thesis. You should have your soft copy, hard copy, you know, when the examiner tells something, you already know which section. That is the good of it. That is the good attitude of the student. And for example, even you ask me now, if you ask me about my thesis, in which chapter, telling about what, I think until now I can still explain. Okay, why I why I wrote it in that way, what I have written, why. So make sure that you well versed with your own thesis. Okay, then you have to meet with all the supervisors, ask for advice, and then you look at the top 40 Viva questions. Okay, with the supervisors, your parents, ask for their blessing, and then do mock Viva and try to anticipate comments. Sometimes it's good for you to call someone from the different background, because they can come up with something which we could not think of. So anticipate comments. So we can anticipate comments and say, oh, this is a question that I've never thought. Then you can prepare your answers. Of course, okay, your attire and try to groom your practice, your presentation. So my SV always told me, Jamal, English is not your mother tongue. So for the first few sentences, you have to memorize. Just to sum up, to start up, to warm up you. So when we study nicely, then I think the flow, you become a smooth flow. But if you start it, in a Malay we call it langkah kiri. If you langkah kiri, okay, you study it not so well, then it's going to affect you, your emotion. So try for the first 5 minutes, try to make everything smooth. So maybe you have to memorize. Or in your position, I think now if you do online, you can have a very good, you can prepare the slides, what your speech there, okay, but don't read, please don't read. Try to talk it from your heart, and then you may prepare yourself spiritually and emotionally. This is from Viva. Okay, what else we can discuss later? Okay, now the presentation. Okay, now you will start your presentation with the introduction or the background. Okay, what actually you try to tell, your highlight, you have to come up with a nice story. Because I'm usually, when I am the examiner, I will ask this question in your introduction or background. What are you trying to tell? So you have it's your thesis, it's your book. What are you trying to tell? So you have you should have your flow, the board, storyboard. You should have your storyboard. So some people, they will tell the motivation to carry out the study. Some will introduce a brief introduction of the study. Some will say the significance of the study. That's why they need to come out, and sometimes they relate with the latest news. Do you know that last week there's something related to vaccine COVID-19? So this is all the study all about, something like that. And if possible, in the early beginning or in your thesis, okay, the examiners could easily spot your novelty. Whether it's a new equation, new theory, whether it's a new material, whether it's new tools, or it just you come up with a new data. Whether it's master's or PhD, I think no one have done a similar thesis, a similar work, scope of work. I don't think so. There must be something. So what you need to do is just you dig down into your thesis, you're well versed with your work, well versed with your thesis. From there, you can highlight your novelty. All right, for the problem statement, then try to, is it critical? Try to come up with a critical. Okay, you can relate it to economy, you can relate it to the fatal catastrophe. I do not know. It's your work. Try to think that your work is critical. Of course, I think there is. If you relate you really understand your work, there must be some thing that which is make your work critical. It must have been done. Okay, and then alignment, and then the objective by itself, whether it's reflect PhD or MSc standard. Okay, if you everything you say there is to determine. Okay, could it reflect a PhD study? So PhD study, you need to come out with a synthesis, with a new thing. And even for masters, you have a new thing. So if you say that you are producing, developing a new equation, or you want to establish a new equation, you want to propose a new equation or new tools, then it reflect a PhD. But if your objective is everything like to determine, to analyze, so you look at back. So from your objective, it could reflect novelty. You can look at Bloom's taxonomy. You can do it as your reference, whether your Bloom's taxonomy is showing the high level cognitive, and then whether it's smart, measurable, and clear outputs. For one objective, usually there's one output. If you mention that you're going to establish a mathematical equation to describe this phenomenon, and then the output would be a mathematical equation. So if you're talking that you're going to develop a tools, the output is going to be a tools. If you're going to a new material, that's going to be a new materials. And some people relate that also in the slides, that from this they can produce which publication, which publication. All right, so the scope and limitation, try to show the impact of your study, try to relate with the international goals. Okay, try to relate the impact, the significance of study. When you say that this study is going to develop new tools, that it's not that impactful. So try to show impact. The impact could be on society, on the economy, or in the national agenda or the international agenda. Try to highlight the impact of your study. For the literature review, if you can produce this in your slides, showing that some other works stable like this, and your current study, what the difference between your study, this is something that examiners would like to see. Right? If you have come up, you can produce something like this, they say that, okay, at least you understand, or you can relate your current work with the previous studies. This is another example. This is another example there. So if you can show something like this, they know that, because when we mentioned that our study is novel, it's not only in Malaysia, it's not only at UiTM. It means that it's a novel in the whole world. Okay. And then if you can show clearly what the research gap in the chapter 2, it will be good. Okay. Highlight. And you can also show your key references that contribute, because for master PhD, sometimes you have different approaches, numerical. Okay, for each approaches you show your key references. Okay, and also you can show that if you have a chapter or your section, okay, you can relate the objective to the novelty or the methodology or whatever that you can comment. This is one example. If you can come up with this, then that will be very good. To show the examiner that you understand your work. Just to show the examiner that you understand your work. All right. Okay. Now let's just focus on Remote Viva. So whatever that I have mentioned just now, we have discussed about the novelty of the thesis, and then preparation for Viva, and then the good thesis, and then your presentation. Now let's specifically look at the Remote Viva. Okay. I'm not sure whether we're going to have a lot of Remote Viva, since the government already lifted the restraint from traveling. So now we can travel. So maybe we're going to have Remote Viva, or maybe we're not going to have a Remote Viva. Okay. So this is the new norms. This is the new norms. Remote Viva. So I'm sharing with you. This is the mine 2. Okay. So one is from UTM. This is UTM, and this is the photo session. Okay, for example, from I have to blur the faces, because this is example from Unimap. Okay, where now if you look at the photo at the end of the Viva, the photo session. Okay, so they have one big screen, and this is the examiner there, and the others are in the same room. Okay, my experience. Okay, I have for this Remote Viva, I have one experience chairing one session, and another one going to be on the 23rd, chairing PhD Viva session remote. And then I have become the external examiner remote for 3 Viva, UTM, UTHM, and UTEM, and one more 31st December in UTEM. So I think it's not going to be Remote Viva. Okay, but this is the scenario. Okay, at UTM, we are from different places because at this time strictly PKPB in Johor, PKPB in Selangor. Okay, in Melaka. So this is the candidate. The candidate is from Putrajaya. Okay, I'm from Shah Alam, my house, and the examiners, okay, internal SV chairperson, they are in the meeting room at UTEM, UTEM. So I cannot travel due to PKPB. Alright, this is at UTHM. The student is from also from their own respective places. The student is from Klang. I'm from home also. Okay, this is UTM. This is for UTM. This is the day, one day just before PKBB in whole Malaysia, except for Kelantan, Pahang, and Perlis, if you remember. Okay, so where am I? See, I am in my Nissan Serena. So I sit at the back, I set up my office. I was at the Gambang. Okay, so when the government announced on Sunday that there would be PKBB throughout Malaysia, so I have to fetch my daughter from Sekolah Menengah Sains Hulu Terengganu in Kuala Berang. So I'm from Shah Alam, got the approval letter from the police to travel, and then I'm finding my way. So I was trying to get as close as to Kuala Berang. Okay, but due to time, I left home at 5:30 in the morning. I stopped for subuh prayer. Then when I travel, that time the 1 hour from 9 is about, I think about 8:15. So I managed to stop at, I think the ideal place at that time was Gambang R&R. And when I passed through from Gambang, I passed through one R&R, which is in Temelloh. I look at, they have the tower, the commission tower. So I know that at every R&R, we have a close commission tower nearby. So I stopped at Gambang. I had my breakfast, and then I set up my office at the back of my Serena, second row, and I parked my car at the parking lot as near as to the commission tower. So Alhamdulillah, I have no problem with internet connection. The student, which is somewhere in his house, he has a connection problem. So delay, and then something he was locked off, but I have no problem, Alhamdulillah. But with me there, I have my hard copy thesis there. So this is the situation, and of course, this is the photo after the Viva. Okay, so whether it's good, I think the Remote Viva could be good or not good for the candidate. I'm not sure, but what I'm sure is that you can hide something. You can hide something. Yes, you can hide something. Okay, we look here. Okay, for example, for online Viva, you can hide something. You can have your setup where you can have your notes here. You have going to have another laptops, tabs, phones, everything there. Okay. Okay, so these are the things that you can do. Okay, so you can have a proper setup where you can put. But again, I want to remind you, Viva is not about testing your memory. So actually, you can look at your materials. You can look at your thesis. You can look at your notes. You can look at your soft copy or internet whatsoever. So basically, Viva is not about testing your memory. So feel free to look at your references, but you really need to prepare it so that we can see that, okay, it's not that during that time only you're going to flip and start looking, search on the net for the answers. Okay, so this is going to be your setup. Okay, but I'm hoping that you wear a proper attire. Why? Because it's your Viva. It's your Viva. Okay, so now let's see for the flow. Okay, since it's a virtual Viva, so you're going to have your virtual meeting room or platform. Okay, sometimes people use WebEx, sometimes people use Google Scholar, so it depends. So we are all going to enter the virtual meeting room first. Okay, if it's not a virtual meeting room, it's a physical, you can set up your slides. You're going to set up your slides in that room. And then, okay, there will be a pre-Viva meeting whereby the student and usually the SV. It depends on the university. Okay, even at UiTM, only the secretariat, the chairperson. You have the chairperson, and at UiTM for PhD, you have one internal examiner, one external examiner in Malaysia, local, and one external examiner from overseas. So during this meeting room, during this online Viva, so far in my session, they did not call the external examiner for overseas to join. But there are plans to call. It depends. So if the external examiner is not there, what is the role or the function of the pre-Viva? The chairperson, we will discuss whether is there any issues with the candidate or with the thesis. Okay, we will ask, is there any plagiarism found or something like that, or can we proceed with the Viva? Okay, so that's it. And during that, I think the examiners and the chair, they already seen the report. And even, in fact, the report from the external examiner also will be viewed there. So we start discussing. We can see that, okay, usually during the first meeting, we're going to have a little bit of discrepancy. Some will give minor, major, okay. Okay, maybe on one examiner giving 2 minor correction, the other one giving major correction. So that is where we start looking at, and usually we're going to proceed with the Viva. So when we proceed to the Viva, you will be called into the presentation. So in your case, if online, then we enter back into the meeting platform, and then you will start doing your presentation. The chair will introduce the examiners, and then we'll start your presentation, sharing your slides. So this is very important to make sure that your line internet connection, you are well prepared. And then after that, once you present, okay, you're going to have your Q&A, which is basically the defense of thesis. Remember, you can also look at the top 40 Viva questions. And after that, the examiners and the students will be recused, call themselves to leave the room for a while for deliberation. We will discuss the final verdict, and then we will call the supervisors and the students into the room again. And the chair usually the chair will announce the verdict, the decision, the final decision, whether it's minor correction or major correction. And after that, finally, you're going to have the photo session. So this is for online, we have this kind of photo session. Well, in this case, we can see that the candidate is happy. Okay, I'm not sure whether he's happy or not. But the examiners, okay, you can have happy examiners as well, and the chairs. And I do not know whether you have happy supervisors or not. Okay, so here the back there is the supervisors there. And usually when the supervisor in the meeting room, they are just the observer. They could not answer questions unless the chair call for their opinion. If the chair asks for their opinion, call for their opinion, then they will say something. If not, they are mainly observer. All right. Okay. So what are the main issues? I would say that the main, based on a few Viva remote session, the main issue is the internet connection. Okay, if you remembered, one of the candidate from Putrajaya suddenly he presented and then it's blackout. His office blackout trip, electric trip, blackout. So, and then there are also cases of device failure when you try to play your slides, it's not moving, or the connection you cannot connect. Okay, environment and noise. So make sure, since you are presenting, you want to hear to them, try to find a good place. And then poor presentation in the sense that reading, please don't read, don't read. You are showing your slides and then we can hear you, it's as if that you are a newscaster, you are reading. So try not to read, try to give the point and try to highlight using your own words. Of course, in many cases, there's delay also. Okay, so what you need to do, don't change your slide so quick, because sometimes, when you flip you change your slide so quick, delay, and then we cannot see. So when you start showing your slides, give a few seconds, then only you start explaining. Because sometimes there's a delay, not only in terms of the slides, but also in terms of the voice. And in most cases, you remember that your slides, when you share your screens, is basically only 75% cover. You will not get the whole, the examiners could not see the whole screen, because part of the screen is meant for that platform, and when even you share your screen is only about 75%. Okay, and then try to keep with the time in your presentation. I would recommend that 15 minutes only. And then, okay, again, sometimes it's not the first time only for you. Sometimes it's only first time for the examiners and even the chair, and even for the secretariat. So this is something that you can expect, the issues related to Remote Viva. Okay, so the preparation, I think you need to, since it's a mock Viva, so whether you plan it physical mock Viva or remote mock Viva, you have to do it, prepare, practice. Practice your mock Viva. If you're remote, then try to do it online. Okay, you have to set good connection and location. Try to find office if you have a line, LAN network Wi-Fi. I think it's a better rather than you use hotspot. Or if you're using hotspot, you have to make sure that it can sustain for the 3 hours or 4 hours of Viva. Okay, my Viva start at the Gambang during the time is 9 o'clock, and then there's some glitch during the presentation, so we delay here and there, and finally the Viva ends at 12:30. And 12:30 I shoot to Kuala Berang. I hit there about 2:30. So I fetch my daughter and then take her home. Took her home for school holidays until next year, and then stop for prayer. And then I think at 6:30 p.m. I at Gambang again. So I reach home that night. It's about 11 p.m. at night, that night. So luckily I set my location there somewhere in between. If I started home, you can imagine that I will start traveling at 12:30, and then we reach Terengganu at what time? There's also traffic jam. Okay, so try to set up and find your good location. Your devices, test your mic and speaker, plus backup. For example, if sometime just now it's trip or blackout, so you have your backup device. Okay, and then thesis, make sure you have your soft copy and hard copy. It's easier for you to look using your hard copy, because the examiners basically they are referring to your hard copy. Turn to page, which page. So if you having a PDF, I'm not sure, but I think hard copy is even better for you. It's easier to flip through. And then notes, okay, you can paste it around your computer as just now, where you can easily view post your notes, and then do you need extra screen, extra laptop, extra tablet, any backup device? So your presentation, target 15 minutes only. Okay, highlight the important things, and please rehearse and try to present it naturally and not reading. Your presentation not reading. And then okay, the other thing is that keep the phone number of the secretariat or your SV. Okay, because if blackout or anything happen, or you lost connection or cannot join the room, and then you can call the secretariat. Then the secretariat inform the examiners or the chair. Okay, during the presentation, you can also expect delay. So even though your presentation you're going to be 15 minutes, okay, make sure okay, don't rush. Don't rush with the slide changing. And then appearance and entire, even though okay, you are going only have to have one Viva for PhD in your entire life. So try to wear properly. Try to wear your suit, your tie if possible. Try to make it as like a physical Viva, because finally then we're going to take photos. You know, even though it's like screenshot, but still we need it's good for you to prepare your attire. You feel like it's a Viva. I think it's something like your lifetime punya memory lah. And then room setting, is your room conducive? You need aircon, because just now I said that when you want to wear your blazer, you want to wear your suit, and if there's no aircon, then you start sweating. And how about the background? You're going to use a virtual background, or you want to share the background of your office or your home. Okay, prepare drinks. Okay, maybe you need water, H2O, next to you, accessible, where you can reach with your hands. Because after Viva or during talk, you need water. Like for me, myself, even now, I have drinks near me. So if I feel like I want to drink, I can get it. Maybe you need some food because I'm not sure the Viva is going to be, okay, at the last Viva UTM it ends about 3, from 9 until like 12:30. But for the UTM is quite quick. Even though there's a trip, there's a delay, quite quick. Why? Because the student has managed to publish 4 Q1, Q2 papers. The impact factor, I think, is about 14 impact factor. 4 plus, 4 plus, 4 plus, and then 3 plus, 14. About 14 or 12 impact factor. 15, I think. 14. So that's going to be a quick Viva, because there's already evidence of the novelty of the work. And maybe you need to be near to the restroom, you need to take break. And during the Viva, if you need to take the break, okay, you can tell the chairperson, okay, may I take a break? I need to take a break, okay? And what else? Maybe we can discuss later on. All right. Okay. When lost connection, do not panic. When lost connection, do not panic. You call the secretariat or SV. Or usually, if there is no answer from you, the chairperson will ask your SV to call you. So that happened, I think, in all 3 cases, because there's a connection loss. The student, the candidate suddenly left the platform. One is from Klang, one is from Putrajaya, and another one from Johor. So in all cases, for the 2 cases, suddenly the student just kept quiet, okay, and then the chairperson asked the SV to call for you. But you can also, okay, once you trip or what, okay, if there's a problem, lost connection or trip or blackout, you can call the secretariat or tell your SV your problem. Okay, so your SV will inform then the chairperson, and the panel could take rest. So we say that we break 10 minutes, though we will break. So better to have your backup devices for presentation. Okay, if you are on battery powered, so you need your laptop, make sure there's a cable, or you have other devices. For myself, during the Viva, I will use one laptop and one phone. One phone, so both can see. I see the view from 2 devices. And sometimes when my voice is not clear, I will use the phone as my microphone. Okay, so then breathe deeply. Okay, you have to regain the mood. Okay, don't be so stressful. So regain your mood and then start again. As I mentioned earlier, try to enjoy your Viva. Okay, that is the session where people want to ask about your work. And then catch up the time and event. So since you have lost like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, resetting everything. So try to make things faster. Okay, stay positive. So far, I think up to the 4 Viva that I attended remotely, the panels understand the situation. Okay, and none of them moody. So I think we all understood. And in my case, at the UTHM, even my case, myself lost connection. There's a heavy rain, and then suddenly I lost connection, and then I rejoined the room. And okay, finally just continue as usual, as if nothing major had happened. Okay, so that's about what I want to share with you. The presentation outline, I have give the introduction about the PhD and the novelty, and then we discuss. I discuss about the good thesis, the examiner's report. Okay, what you should do before the Viva, and talking about the presentation of the Viva, I have given you the scenario or the ambience of the remote Viva, and what are the main issues. Basically, the main issues is the internet connection, the internet connection, and then what you can prepare for it. Okay, so Q&A later on. I just want to show you the rest of it very quickly. So I will share the slides later on with you. This is a Jadual Ideal Muslim Cemerlang. You can follow. And then I give you also the background of myself. So I'm basically the professor in computational mechanics. And then there's also my PhD chronology. That's I'll show you the thesis, my thesis. So for our thesis, we have, there's no format. At Cardiff, there's no format. So we can select my color. So when I asked the secretary, what should be the color of my thesis? She said, if you want to be it glaring, okay, you put it yellow. So I said, no, yellow is too glaring. So I select this red, maroon, and then, okay, it's not gold color, it's a silver color. So basically, it's like Ferrari, Ferrari color. So that's my thesis. And then this is about myself, my experience as a main SV and examiners. Okay, sample of graduates and output. Okay, I just want to share with you. So try to produce as much outputs as possible from your PhD work. So especially those who are already working, if you're lecturers, once you come back or you're being called back to your office, you don't really have much time to do all the work. So the PhD work, if you're doing is full-time PhD work, I think that's the best time of my life doing research. We can plan a lot of things, a lot of outputs. All right, so that is the thesis of my PhD. Okay, the title, I'm doing human skin deformation. Yeah, I'm doing biomechanics. I'm studying human skin. And then I managed to publish one at the time. There's no Q1, Q2 actually. They just call it a reputable journal or flagship journal. Okay, and I brought this during my Viva. This is, I brought this during my Viva, and there are other things. I put in my thesis scientific achievement, what I have done, my publications, my tools. Okay, and then I'm going to share also my students, what they have produced. So this is one of my students, their publications. And now for my students, I ask them to have their IP, they have their own logo, they have their product, and then they join the IID and they got their medal. And wherever possible that you can do collaboration, it's lucky for them during that time. We have the money, so send them to Japan, and I also send them to industry to do relate with industry some work. So this is the experience that you can gain. So this is another candidate. This is a lecturer, okay, from UTM. So he is GOT. He registered 2015 and Viva 2019. So this is his publication. So okay, submitted. Okay, and then he won the Diamond Award, invention yang written IDEX. So also he has his IP. This is his product, Hybro, and he for this medal, gold medal and diamond medal, he got 1,000 ringgit. 1,000 ringgit. Okay. And she is APC Anugerah. She graduated less than 3 years. So okay, she's from undergraduate. So as Azizul Hakim, so she registered as masters and then convert and then graduate as PhD. So she's got APC Anugerah Pendidik Cemerlang. Okay, and then she managed to publish one accepted during her Viva. The paper is accepted. So this is actually Q2 WOS. Q1 is Scopus. For Q2 WOS, now the impact factor actually is 3 point something. So another all this publication that she got, and then also she got bronze medal at ITEX bronze medal, and she got 2 golds in the IDEX 2017, and then got copyright, and then also she had the time, she has the opportunity to collaborate with other universities. Okay, this is me in last September. I won the Alhamdulillah, I won the Anugerah Penyelidik Terbaik lah 2019. I think due to the output from the 3 students just now. So 1 APC, 1 GOT, and 1 just graduate, and 2 from them is actually conversion from masters, bachelor engineering, registered masters, and convert direct to PhD. So for this I got Alhamdulillah, I got 2,000 ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so if you want to discuss more, this is my contact number. You can just Google my name. Alright, this is my team of my research, Engineering for Humanity. Okay, apart from that also, if you look at the YouTube, I have several videos which I uploaded. IPSis actually uploaded into the YouTube. You can look at that. Writing and other materials related to PhD research, our masters. Okay, so with that, thank you very much for listening. So I pass back the screen to Dr. Hussein. Right, so Dr. Hussein.
Yeah, Prof. Yeah. Thank you so much for a wonderful sharing of the session, Prof. So it's really interesting, and it's really, I say, in detail about the entire of the process from the very beginning until to the end. I'm listening and I really, wow.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so Prof, now we will officially open for a Q&A session for the things, for the students or maybe the audience. Then I will read through the questions accordingly. Meanwhile, I think we do have earlier questions. Okay, Prof, I might read the first one.
Okay, sure.
There is one question is asking about how to overcome when we are suddenly nervous during the Viva. It's a very common question, which is all of us have go through. Yes, Prof.
Okay, I think everyone is nervous, right? So I think so. Remote Viva will lesser. You will be less nervous because you're not going to find it face to face. Now, even giving talk, even now I'm professor, I'm still nervous. So what I do, the first thing is that I wear a suit. I wear a suit or blazer for the first few minutes. It's something that protecting you, you have your protection from the direct contact with the panel. So once I'm getting hotter, and then I will open up my suits. So that is one thing. So you can wear something that to cover up. The other thing is that sometimes nervous comes because you're not well prepared. So if you are well prepared, you can be more confident. All right. And spiritually, for the Muslim, you can recite Quran, you can read doa, you baca ayat kursi, There's one been taught by me lah. One secret during my exercise for promotion. There's one ustad. Please mind us for those not Muslim. There's one ustad who's teaching me to read ayat kursi and then telan.
Yeah.
And then doa, ya Allah keserlahkanlah kedai ayat kursi ni dalam diri kami. So before my interview before my interview for Professor Madya, a few minutes later, at that time, one of the issue is that about aura. You have no aura. Just 2 minutes before that, I got the idea. I baca ayat kursi dan I say, Ya Allah, kau selahkanlah aura ayat kursi ni dalam diriku. So I think I nailed that interview. I think so. Alhamdulillah, it was a good interview and I have that confidence. So I think you try to prepare. You try to prepare. Of course, nervous is not only you. I think everyone. Everyone will have the nervous. So just be prepared, and I think that's the best you can do. That's the best you can do. I'm not sure whether it also depends. I ask my students, okay, during the Viva session, you want me to be in there or not? As an SV, I give the options to my students. So one of my students say, tamo, Prof, because you be nervous if I'm there.
Yeah.
All right. So I said, fine. But then also said, no, Prof, I need you in that room. So I'll be there in that room. So I leave that to my students, whether they okay. So there are the things. Other than things, I think, yeah, I think the preparation and have good food, or I do not know. Maybe you can have your mother next to you. Okay? No one can see you in your online Viva, so you can have your mother or your wife there. I'm not sure. All right.
I think, Prof, I will say the option that you give, especially either the professor, the supervisor is in the Viva room or not.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say I'd rather don't want to see my supervisor in my room.
See? Yeah. So yeah, that's my option to the student.
Yeah. Okay. We have more questions over here, Prof. Okay. Prof, is there a rules of thumbs in the terms of timing for the Viva? Example, if it is 30 minutes, mean it is acceptable. If it is 45 minutes, it's mean most likely require major amended, etc. It means they are asking about the timing basically.
Okay. As the chairperson, you are giving the SOP of the Viva. So we will inform the student. They will have 30 minutes or 20 minutes for PhD. I can't remember. I think masters 20 minutes, PhD 30 minutes. But the thing is that I think you do not go beyond. No, the problem is that, yes, you said that you prepare the slide for 40 minutes. Very seldom students stick to that.
Yeah, I agree.
You tend to tell, a lot of things, because you remember that even before Viva, the examiners have already read your thesis. They even have graded you. They have ranked you, whether it's a minor correction, major correction, whether the work is sufficient or not. So during the presentation, it's better for you to highlight things, to highlight things which is, you do not really have to explain everything in detail. Okay, so that's why I think if you can, for masters, 20 minutes are the most. For PhD, I think even if you're given for 40 minutes, you prepared for 30 minutes. Okay, you make everyone happy. Now, being myself a chair or examiner, we try to make the Viva session as smooth as possible. But when you drag it with your presentation, moreover, if you read, it's not a good presentation, then our temperature will slightly, raise. So it's about something like, so it's good unless you prepared well your presentation. Okay, in my case, I prepared my presentation for 20 minutes. Okay, I prepared my presentation in 20 minutes, but my Viva was 21st of December, 4 days before Christmas. And my external examiner is from London. So London from Cardiff is 3 hours train. And he was asking at first, no presentation. Can you imagine? No presentation, but I have prepared for 20 minutes. So he said that, okay, I give you only 7 minutes. Now what I did is that, why I want to present, because my presentation already consists, I remember I showed the top 40 Viva questions. So I have covered a lot of that in my presentation slides. So once I have presented 7 minutes, then he said, well, you have answered many of my questions. So that's the point. But if your slides is, you're portraying or intriguing more questions, we have your question and suddenly from your slides, more uncertainty that you give, then you see there are more questions to ask. So that is sometimes it could be dangerous also. So what I would advise you is that try to present it, okay, as short as possible. Go straight to the main points. Don't give more bullets to the examiners. All right, that's the point.
Okay, I'm sure that is the preparation, Prof. Until today, maybe the lecturer, such as for me myself, the nervous or the preparation is must for us.
Yes, true.
I will say for today's session of itself, I already prepared at least 24 hours earlier to meet you. So
no, we prepared like yesterday. Even
yes.
We have that, and you know my slides. Even though I'm giving a slides presentation for about 1 hour, 1 hour plus, you can see my slides is not that one hour slides. You know.
Yeah.
It's I prepared and I pick the flow of what to tell. That's me. So if not, I'm going to be nervous.
Yes, I understand your feelings, Prof. Prof, there is one more question, I think from Iza. She's asking about, okay, this is maybe most of them also have the same question. How to achieve or pass the Viva with no corrections and publish a lot of Q1 paper? I think, Prof, you should answer this question.
Okay, to be honest, for my students, even I won the anugerah penyelesaian terbaik, I never expected my students to pass without correction. We aim for at least minor. We aim for at least minor. So basically, if Viva thesis with no correction, there are cases who got that, yes, but basically it's like perfect. And at Cardiff University, there's a definition actually. If the correction is less than 5%, that can be considered as no correction. But what you need to do, if you want your thesis to be no correction, you have to be very meticulous. To be meticulous, that means I have given you all the tips. No, sometimes spelling, UK, US, structure of sentences, grammatical error, some of the figures. Okay, if I may suggest, the figures at least should be half of the A4 papers, the graph, and then the writing it should be in the size of 10, smaller than 10 font size or 12. Okay. Actual physically, so that is it tailor with the writing time. But some students, what they did is they copy 100% from the from elsewhere, from the references, and then they put it there. Even though it's allowed when you put the reference there, but sometimes it's not good. It's not of high quality. There are the things. The other things is about alignment. And usually what else they do, they ask you to put is that there's a way to check your literature review whether it's enough or not. There's a literature review, there's a methodology. All those methodology that you want to apply have been discussed in the literature review. That means your literature review is enough. Okay, so it's very difficult for us to get that kind of no correction at all. No correction. Now, if you publish a few theses, okay, there's a few cases. A student published, one UTM student, he published 3 Q1 before Viva. And there's one UTM student published 4 Q1, Q2 before Viva. Now, what happened is that the published paper, they done it superbly, the sentences, maybe they send for editing, but they did not update that in the thesis. So it's like that. The thesis is, there's a when you look at it, you can say that those part have been published is a very high standard, and suddenly the part which is connecting to it or the conclusion is like grammatical error, So there's a lot of, I think, basic mistakes. So if you think. Anyhow, what helps is that if you publish at least one paper, the examiners won't fail you, and then they like your Viva will be a smooth session. That's it. But in terms of correction, you need to be meticulous, right? Okay.
Okay, Prof. Maybe we can take one more questions before we end the sessions. Maybe actually, Prof, a lot of questions is coming in.
No, I think if we have time, I don't mind spending another 20 minutes with them if we have time.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah.
Then I go through as much as possible, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay, so because some of the question I notice is still a repetition that you have managed to.
Yeah.
Okay, so how is it? Wait, the Prof. Let me.
Yeah.
Most of the question I keep on asking about nervous.
Yeah, at least I have given 3 points, right? Just now.
Yeah. Okay, Prof. This is quite interesting. These questions. So, if let's say in the defense in the Viva room, let's say the defense they have a different opinion with the chair and the co-examiner.
Co-examiner, okay.
Chair and the co-examiner, they have a different opinions.
All right.
The presentation. So how should the student or they are going to tackle with this problem?
Okay. First thing, the role of the chair is actually a moderator.
Yeah.
He's a moderator. So he will be moderating lah. Usually the conflict is between the internal and external examiner.
Yep.
And then also okay. As the students, I think you need to answer. You need to answer. You can argue, but you argue it academically, not emotionally.
Yes.
Okay. This always happen to maybe the student is matured students. You know, maybe he's already senior. He tends to you know maybe lah. So don't be emotional lah. Don't be emotional. Try to answer. You have to answer. I think as the candidate, whatever question posed by the chair or the students or the examiners, you have to answer, but answer it academically. Academically. Don't be emotionally. Okay, in my cases, I can tell you in my Viva, I have 3 questions which I could not answer. The first question is answered since I'm doing on human skin. So my examiner, my external examiner is actually, he's a professor from Oxford, you know, from Oxford University. His question was very high. And then he asked me a questions, where the skin get the nutrition from? Where the skin get the nutrition from? And being an engineer, it's a biological question. I do not know at all. So an answer with this kind of feel like no, I answer him hesitantly. Is it from the blood? They say no, it's from the air. From the air. And then the second questions, when we flip, because my Viva, the examiner flip page by page. So it comes to a section and then he asks, okay, you mentioned this reduced integration. What do you mean by reduced integration? And at that instant, I'm totally blank. So I told him that please forgive me, but I really forgot. I have really forgotten the meaning of reduced integration. And that's another one question. So when I came out, actually, I could not answer 3 questions. But my supervisor, when he was out, they said, no problem, nothing major. And actually, it's okay. It is okay that if there's this question which you could not answer. So just be frank with them, rather than you start, you know, the Malay used to call it goreng-goreng, you know, whether you start saying this and that, and then when we start telling something which is not right, then, you know, it will prolong. So just be frank. Please forgive me. I really forgot about this, but not all the question you forgot. That's not logic. But a few questions, if you really cannot answer, I think that. But as a candidate, I think you have to lah. And if you're talking about the supervisor and the co-supervisor just now, when you mentioned that, by right, the supervisor or the co-supervisor, they have no they should be only observer in that room, unless the chairperson call him to answer something. If not, he better just keep quiet. Right.
I get it. Prof, before we proceed, a lot of them asking for your presentation slide. Can I share with them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So after this, I will share the link with the presentation link to in the announcement sections, and also I hope that you can fill the feedback form for Prof today's session as well. Okay. So Prof, this is another questions they're asking about from Atika Bashira. She's asking, you as a panel, most of the Viva panels have been invited. So they are asking which one will be better as a panel in a remote sessions or face-to-face Viva? Which is more effective to the candidate?
Okay. You look at me. I'm at early 40s, early 40s. So I think you can guess which one I like.
Same, I can guess. The same go to me.
Okay, that's another thing. So I like more physical. And when you talk about effectiveness, yes, physical Viva is more effective. Physical Viva is more effective because in terms of the procedure also, once we complete the Viva, everything could be solved then and there. Okay. For example, the documentation, the report, the signature. Now, what happened? I have been a Viva for one remote university, remote Viva for one university. After the Viva, I have to post back the thesis. Then for the claim form, I have to get the signature from my superior. Then I have to post it. And then from the report, they prepared it, and after a few days, they email to me. Then I give back the signature to them. So I think it's not smooth, you know. But usually in the physical Viva, once we have announced the verdict, we will sit there. We will look at the report. We sign everything. Everything is complete. I think by the afternoon session, after a few hours, the report is ready for the student, and we can see the student, you know, I think most of the panels is not that fierce lah. We are human also. Yeah. I think most of the cases, the panels have the intention to help the student. It's not that we really, we didn't go there, we want to fail you. No, that's not the intention. We want to help you. It's just for the Viva session. We really want to check whether it's your work or not. So to me, physical Viva would be more effective. All right.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I also prefer to see the human in front of me.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe we can go for another, this one, question from Sarah. She's asking, are we allowed to defend our arguments point directly after the panel asks the questions? Or is there a turn should the student wait until all the panel done communicating? So it's mean more to Q&A during the Viva session itself, Prof.
Okay, for the Q&A, okay, let me share with you the ambience, the scenario. Okay, when the PhD session, usually the student will stand. I stand. And then once I presented my 7 minutes, you know, I prepared all my documents on the table. The examiners called me, sit next to him. Okay, then only I know, oh, the Viva actually we can, during the Q&A we can sit. Because for my master's presentation, I did research. I presented and I answered all the questions standing, you know, and they said sit. Okay, now for the UITM setup, usually you'll be for physical, you're being prepared with the slide, the TV and everything. You can present standing or sitting. There's no problem. Okay, you can present standing. And then after that, once you have presented, the chair usually will ask you, can we proceed with the Q&A session or not? So if you need time to go to the gents room, you know, you need to take fresh air, you can ask for a 5-minute break. If you are ready, you can sit there, and usually the chair will open. Okay, let's open up to the general question first. And usually the honor is given to the external examiner. So he will start with the general question. General questions is sometimes just for ice breaking or related to your slides. Okay, so if you said answer, usually he will ask, you will answer. Okay, and then once the external examiner is filed, then the chair will ask for the internal examiner. So usually we will answer directly after each question. Now the role of your supervisor, if he is there, or the co-supervisor, is that he will help you with writing the question. So that's what my supervisor did. And of course, when I'm there, not me, my co-supervisor, I ask him to write, okay, the question. But now we have also the secretariat who's going to write whatever the minute of meeting. Okay, so you do not have to write the question. What you need to do, just be prepared. Whatever question posed by the examiners, you answer it. So if you find it is a very difficult question, take a deep breath, think first, and then you start answering those questions. And remember, it's okay if you cannot answer 1 or 2 questions. Okay, I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, Prof. Yeah, you answer. I think that most of the students I met, I myself go through the PhD, Viva, and everything. The moment we go into the room, it's like, okay, I'm going to die. It's a very common one.
It's horrible ordeal, right?
Yeah.
I showed you just now. It's a torture.
Different mode. So yeah. for most of us, so that is the main one of the reason. Prof, there is one more questions over here. They are asking for they ask one of the audience asking, can you please share the tips for the postgraduate by research? They are doing research and also working. So working and also research full-time student. So what is your comment and especially important deadline to chase?
Okay, one of my candidate, just now, Dr. Fuad, he is actually a lecturer. He's a lecturer at UTM. He did not get study leave. So for the part-time, okay, for a PhD, first thing that if you're doing PhD, especially PhD, for masters, I think is quite, it's not that difficult because I have a few also master student doing part-time or PhD. First thing that you really need to know is the requirement. You have to fulfill the requirement. So when you have to fulfill the requirement for masters, it's not that difficult. One Q1, if you have one ISI paper, you can. And then the work is not up to the high level of novelty, but the expectation is for PhD. So you must know first what are the requirements. Then you have to really set your time. You have to really set your time. It's not easy, you know, even for me, doing masters, PhD full time. I think you also, Dr. Hussein,
Yeah.
It's even we doing full time, I think like, what you need to do is you have to sacrifice a lot. You have to really plan well. For those who intend to do research mode with me, usually I will not ask them to register first. No, they have to do the groundwork first. Once they have done the groundwork, at least they know what to do, they are clear, then only they register, and inshallah lah, they can proceed. But if sudden you want to, you know, you do not have a mind what to do PhD, and then you're doing part-time, it's very difficult. So one thing that you need to do is that you really understand, need know what the requirements and plan your time, your weekend or night time, how to find time to do that. And for your information, I pity my student Fuad. It's like that after 5 o'clock, he's still in his office, writing, doing PhD. You know, Saturday, Sunday, he will spend a lot of times. And my student, even they're doing full time, there are students who actually slept at the lab.
Oh, that's very common.
Yeah, that is very common, right? So that is the sacrifice that you need to have. So if you want to graduate on time, I think you have to do that. And yes, one of my masters by coursework, okay, she want to complete her thesis. Yeah, she did came after work, and then she slept at the lab work. She's doing part-time. Yeah, that is the sacrifice. But the most important thing, okay, so in recap, the first thing you really need to know what the answer. If you can publish, let's say in first, let's say in 1 year, the first year you can publish 1 Q1. That means you're already halfway already. You are almost there. So then what you need to do, just work hard and start. Because some students, they are very smart. For example, if you have good experience in research, then part-time is okay, like Fuan. And if your English is good, you can write those sentences and your presentation is good during Viva, I think you won't have much problem with writing your thesis. Now, the problem with most of the students is the writing part. To be honest, most of the students is the writing part. Okay, so, and I'm telling them, you do not have to write yourself. You do not have to prepare everything by yourself. Look at the good thesis, look at the good journals, and you try to adapt their sentences into your thesis. Okay, so to those who are doing part-time, okay, you working, doing, okay, you, all the best, all the best. Pray a lot, pray a lot. Inshallah.
I think Prof are enjoying answering questions. I can see your enthusiasm to answer the question and sharing your experience really make us to sit down and listen more, Prof. Okay? And the question is, it's coming in. So I will say to the audience, they already get your email address and also your contacts over there. I will really suggest to the audience might be contact Prof J, our lovely Prof J directly for the more conversation or more ideas about the sessions. And also I really again would like to remind, I already post the link for the Prof J presentations. And in addition, I really hope the audience can give a feedback, fill the feedback for today's session as well. So, Prof, anything last before we end our session for today?
Okay, first of all, the first thing is good luck to all the students, candidate, PhD or Masters. So one thing, the main thing I want to advise you, first be meticulous. All right. And number one, be meticulous. Number two, you really need to understand what is the requirement and you have to work for it. Work hard lah. Work hard. The other things, I hope whatever I shared is beneficial to you.
Yes, it is.
Please understand when I said the requirement to everything lah, how to write and everything and that. And finally, if I have said something wrong or offended someone, please forgive me. I have no intention. It's just that my enthusiasm like that. Yeah. So yeah, so please forgive me if I have offended anyone. I have no intention to do so. So all the best.
Okay, Prof, thank you so much. We are almost at the end of the sessions. Really good sharing sessions. Prof, I really hope to meet you for more interview session in future. So share more knowledge from your side. So if there is nothing, why not we end our session today with the Surah Al-As and also Tasbih Kifarah. Thank you so much. That's end our today's session. See you, Prof. See you, the audience. All see you in the next session. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Prof.